The poor decisions by the Prime Minister lead him to have to explain himself to the Canadian public and the Conflict of Interest Commissioner as often as a disobedient kid ends up standing in the corner to think things over. The Prime Minister must exhibit some consistency and integrity and answer questions clearly before this House. Mr. Speaker, how many times has the Prime Minister met the Ethics and Conflict of Interest Commissioner to discuss his elastic version of ethics? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, as you know, I'm always perfectly pleased to work with the Commissioner to answer any questions she may have. The Honourable Member for Lévis-le-Binière. Mr. Speaker, this is a very simple question. It's also a question of trust. Canadians will deduce that there are laws that apply to them, but that some laws do not apply to the Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I repeat my question. How many times has the Prime Minister met the Ethics and Conflict of Interest Commissioner? How many times? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, as I always said, I'm always very happy to meet with the Ethics Commissioner and work with her to answer any questions she may have on this topic and any other topic.
Opposition House Leader.
Well, Mr. Speaker, a moment ago, the Prime Minister arrogantly insulted our Opposition House Leader and said she was confused. Let me say, I think this is actually full confusion right now with the Prime Minister. So I will repeat the question in English, because the question is not if he is happy or satisfied or feeling good about meeting the Ethics Commissioner. Has the Prime Minister met with the Ethics Commissioner? And if so, how many times? Very, very simple.
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to work with the Ethics Commissioner and Conflict of Interest Commissioner to answer any questions she may have. That's what Canadians expect of the Prime Minister, and that's exactly what I'm doing.
Order. Order. The Honourable Member for Banff, Airdrie and others will come to order. The Honourable Opposition House Leader has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, what Canadians expect is that their Prime Minister would give a clear answer to a clear and a simple question. Now, if he has something to hide, then Canadians want to know that as well. So I would suggest, if he wants to send Canadians the message that he has nothing to hide, that he answer the question. How many times has the Prime Minister met with the Ethics Commissioner?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I am very happy to work with and answer the Ethics and Conflict of Interest Commissioner questions. I think it's extremely important that we be working.
Order. Order. Most members and all parties can sit through a question period without reacting to what they hear. And I think we should have confidence in the ability of Canadians to judge the quality of questions and answers. I'm sure members have confidence in Canadians to be able to do that, and they don't need the help of people heckling. The Right Honourable Prime Minister has the floor.
Canadians expect the Prime Minister to work with the Ethics and Conflict of Interest Commissioner anytime she has questions, and that's exactly what I've been doing.
The Honourable Member for Barrie Innisfil.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister keeps saying he's happy to meet with the Ethics Commissioner and answer any questions she might have, but he's really playing a game of political survivor by outwitting, outplaying and outlasting the Ethics Commissioner over his vacation to Billionaire Island. It's been asked 4 times already. I don't even know why I'm trying, to be frank, but I'll repeat this simple question. How many times has the Prime Minister met with the Ethics Commissioner?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, happy, as should be any member of this House, to work with the Ethics Commissioner, answer any questions that she may have. I think that's important.
The Honourable Member for Barrie Innisfil.
What a charade, Mr. Speaker. This Prime Minister said he would stand up every Wednesday and answer every question that's being asked of every member on this side of the House, and he fails to do it. He's been asked 5 times today, Mr. Speaker, about the Ethics Commissioner. For the sake of my colleagues, I'll ask it again. How many times? 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 And how many times has he met with the Ethics Commissioner?
losing time here. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians expect clarity, they expect consistency, and when asked the same question, I will give the same answer. That's what Canadians expect. I will work with and answer the questions that the Ethics Commissioner and Conflict of Interest Commissioner may have.
L'honorable député d'Outremont.
The honourable member for Outremont.
Mr. truly believes in the importance of question period. If he sincerely believes in transparency and accountability, he's going to have to find it somewhere inside himself to answer this very basic question, because it only concerns him, and he knows the answer. He is being investigated by the Ethics Commissioner. How many times has the Prime Minister communicated with the Ethics Commissioner? Answer the question.
Order. Order. Member for Huron-Bruce will come to order. Order. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, when asked the same question, I will give the same answer. I'm happy to work with the Ethics Commissioner on any questions she may have. And one of the things that I like about Prime Minister's question period is I get to take questions from any MP across the way who has their questions, not just the party leaders, which I think is important for all members in this House to be able to ask direct questions of their Prime Minister.
The honourable member for Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie.
Now, we know that the Prime Minister has said he will cooperate with the Ethics Commissioner, but what we want right now is cooperation with the House of Commons. For the 8th time, how many times have you met with the Ethics Commissioner?
I remind the honourable member for Barrie Springwater Oral-Modanti to direct his questions to the Chair, the Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to sit and work with the Ethics Commissioner on answering any of the questions she may have. That's the kind of things that is important to Canadians. What's also important to Canadians is making investments in the middle class, in growth for the economy, in putting forward a budget that's going to put more money in the pockets of the middle class and raise taxes on the wealthiest 1%. These are the focuses that our government has. The priorities of our government is serving the middle class and those working hard to join it.
The member for Louis Saint Laurent. All Canadians know that the Prime Minister has trouble counting. When came time to do election promises, there was a $10 billion deficit. Now it's $30 billion. He has trouble with numbers. So I'd like to ask him a very simple question. For the 9th time, how many times has he met with the Ethics Commissioner? Give us a clear answer. Canadians want to know. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I'm very pleased to work with the Ethics Commissioner to answer any question she may have. But our priority on this side of the House is to work for the middle class and those working hard to join it, with historic levels of investment in infrastructure, in the CPP, investment in daycare, in affordable housing. That's what we're working for on this side of the House, and it's too bad that members opposite don't seem interested in all the good measures we're putting in place. The honourable member for Richmond-Tabasca. In my former life, I was a school principal, and when I listen to the Prime Minister, I get the impression I'm listening to a kid who's claiming he's happy to go see the principal and unable to say how many times he's been to see him. The question is simple. 0 times, 1, 2, 3? I know it's below 5. And the question's a simple one. Is it 0 or 1? I get the impression the right answer is probably 0. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. I'm very pleased to work with the Ethics and Conflict of Interest Commissioner to answer any questions she may have.
Carleton.
Prime Minister was getting tired of pretending to answer the question, so he's decided he just won't even pretend to answer it at all. So I'll ask it one more time. We know that he has difficulty counting. How many times did the Prime Minister meet with the Ethics Commissioner with regards to the investigation into his trip to Billionaire Island.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I am happy to answer as many questions as the members opposite have, but if they ask the same question, they will keep getting the same answer, that I am pleased to work with the Ethics and Conflict of Interest Commissioner to answer any questions that she might have.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Not only did they really miss their deficit targets by a whole lot, their revenue-neutral tax cut was off by $2 billion. So I know that there's some issues in terms of calculation. I'm going to try a different angle. A, was it 0 times did he meet with the Ethics Commissioner? B, was it 1 to 5? Or C, 6 to 10?
Honourable Prime Minister.
I'm happy to work with the Ethics Commissioner on any questions that she might have. The fact is, on this side of the House, we are focused on making investments that are going to make a difference in the lives of Canadians. Whether it's investing in infrastructure to the tune of $180 billion over the coming years, whether it's investing in childcare spaces to help families, whether it's delivering a Canada Child benefit that's going to help 9 families out of 10 across this country, whether it was raising taxes for the wealthiest 1% so we can lower them for the middle class. This government is focused on the priorities of Canadians, and we're delivering.
Order. The Honourable Member for Flamborough-Glanbrook.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A new day, sunny ways, new respect for Parliament, answering every question of every member. We're going to respect Parliament more. These are all the things that the Prime Minister said when he was campaigning. And now today, as you said, Mr. Speaker, Canadians will be able to judge the veracity of those words. Could you please tell the House how many times you've met with the Ethics Commission?
Remind the Honourable Member for Flamborough-Glanbrook, who's an experienced member, that he's to direct his questions to the Chair, of course. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to work with the Ethics Commissioner to answer any questions she may have. We continue to be focused on the things that matter to Canadians, whether it's restoring the federal government's engagement in housing. For 10 long years, the federal government withdrew its support for national housing strategies. That's why we're pleased that low-income housing, that affordable housing for Canadians has once again become a priority for the Canadian government. We're happy to work with mayors, with provinces, with community groups to deliver on the kinds of housing needs that so many Canadians are facing after 10 years of lower than necessary growth under the previous government.
Order. It might be less distracted. People would quiet down. The Member for Cypress Hills Grasslands.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister broke the law. He accepted gifts worth thousands of dollars on Billionaire's Island. He's under investigation by the Ethics Commissioner. His obligation is to be honest with Canadians. What's he covering up here? How many times has he communicated with the Ethics Commissioner?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to work with the Ethics Commissioner to answer any questions that she might have. Furthermore, our priorities on this side of the House continue to be making a difference in the lives of Canadians, particularly in terms of our seniors, where not only have we strengthened the CPP for a generation and ensured that future retirees have stable retirements, we've increased the guaranteed income supplement by 10% for our most low-income vulnerable seniors. We continue to look at ways to invest more in affordable housing for our seniors, because we know that after 10 years of that government, there were underinvestments in housing. This is the kinds of things we need to do.
I was going to ask about powerful new evidence that Canada's sanctions, monitoring, compliance and enforcement of criminal financial activity is dysfunctional, and the Liberals' foot-dragging and accepting the Foreign Affairs Committee's unanimous Magnitsky recommendations to get tough on corruption. But I think more relevant is the Prime Minister's dysfunctional performance in question period. So just how many times has he met the Ethics Commission?
Speaker, happy to work with the Ethics Commissioner to answer any questions that she might have. We continue as a government to focus on the priorities of Canadians, whether it's making sure that we're lowering taxes for the middle class, raising them on the wealthiest 1%, whether it's delivering a Canada Child benefit that gives more money to 9 out of 10 Canadian families by not sending child benefit checks to millionaires like this previous Conservative government did. We are focused on the things that matter to Canadians, Mr. Speaker, and we will continue to work hard to protect and defend the middle class and those working hard to join it.
Member for Calgary Nose Hill.
Mr. Speaker, a well-known French writer once said, "Man is not what he thinks he is what he hides." So will the Prime Minister stop hiding the truth and show Canadians what he's actually made of, and tell Canadians how many times he's met with the Ethics Commissioner?
Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to work with the Ethics Commissioner to answer any questions that she may have. We're going to continue to work on the things that matter to Canadians. We're going to continue to invest historic amounts in infrastructure that are going to help families get to and from work in a reasonable amount of time, back in time for their kids' soccer games. We're going to make the kinds of investments that make a difference in small businesses being able to get their goods to market. We're going to continue to engage constructively on the world stage to open up new markets for Canadian products and better options for Canadian consumers. These are the priorities of this government. We're going to continue working on those.
The honourable member for Sherwood. Order.
Mr. Speaker, it's clear the Liberals are all show and no action. Perhaps another 6 months with their deliverology guru will allow the Prime Minister to work on his ability to deliver answers. How many times has the Prime Minister met with the Ethics Commissioner?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to work with the Ethics Commissioner and answer any questions that she may have. We continue to understand how important it is to work with Canadians to deliver on their priorities, whether it's extra help with the cost of raising kids, which the CCB is helping 9 out of 10 Canadian families, and reducing child poverty by 40%. We are putting forward concrete measures to improve the lives of Canadians. Whether it was strengthening the Canada Pension Plan for a generation, for the future, these are the kinds of things that make a significant difference in the lives of Canadians. We're going to continue to put Canadians' priorities first.
Mr. Speaker, the moral of this question period, don't worry, I'm happy. That's the Prime Minister's new slogan. Because that's the answer that he gave to the Ethics Commissioner. Oh, no, wait, actually, he confirmed 17 times today that he hasn't spoken to the Ethics Commissioner, Mr. Speaker. Why is the Prime Minister refusing to answer the question? How many times has he met with the Ethics Commissioner, Mr. Speaker? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I'm very pleased to work with the Ethics Commissioner to answer any questions she may have. It's important to focus on the different ways that we are meeting the needs and concerns of Canadians, whether it's by investing in infrastructure that will make a real difference in their day-to-day life, or by investing in health, where we signed agreements on the Health Accord, which will allow for massive investments in mental health for the first time, and home care. We know how concerned Canadians are by having a government that's there for them.
Order.